I sometimes feel like someday soon we will disappear from the face of the earth. Sometimes I feel sad. Most of the times I feel scared because we'll never know what happens.
There was a book that I read about sea level rise, and it told me that small islands are not sinking, they're shrinking by coastal erosion. So maybe that's my thought about what my elders told me. But the islands are not sinking, they're just shrinking.
Ia te tai mine no foi aku lungai te whenua tēnei, aku pā mine no whoro koi whoriki.
I have lived on the island ever since I was 3 years old. Up until now, I've seen a lot of changes in the weather, in terms of strong winds. The whole day can be a fine, clear day. Then all of a sudden, strong winds hit the island. Then you'll see people will start preparing their families. At other times, the Met observer will inform us that something is about to happen. But when we look at the sea looks calm, and we don't even see a single wave. There are also many other changes in the weather. Sometimes when it gets cold, it's really cold, and when it's hot, it gets really hot.
Growing up on the island, we did not think or understand what climate change was about. But now I can see the changes in weather patterns, and I have become more anxious when I think about it. I think about what will happen to my family, my children, and my grandchildren. Will there be an evacuation place for us to run when disaster strikes?
Situated east of Australia and north of Fiji is Tuvalu, one of the smallest and most remote countries in the world, with a total land area of 25.9 square kilometers and a population of less than 12,000 people. As a small island developing state and one of the most vulnerable countries in the world, Tuvalu is experiencing the impacts of climate change, with projected sea level rise, increase in the severity of cyclones and ocean temperatures, compounded by ocean acidification. The Tuvalu government understands the development challenges related to climate change and the urgency of implementing adaptation methods. Therefore, it has made a commitment that climate change efforts are undertaken at the national and community level. Out of this commitment, the National Adaptation Program of Action, or NAPA, as it is commonly referred to, was conceived.
And we are very appreciative of the launching, or rather the installation of that particular activity under NAPA 2. And of course, it is to help people adapt to the impacts of climate change, sea level rise, which are already felt severely by the people of Tuvalu. But if you consider Tuvalu, like other small islands, as isolated, fragmented, and with the big oceans in between the islands, communications is extremely important, is critical.
I believe that this project is special to UNDP, firstly because the way it was designed and the way it was implemented was really done not by coming in and doing it for people, but there was tremendous consultations with people. There was a lot of analysis that was done in terms of what solutions would work and would be sustainable, and it really built that ownership throughout.
There was a project called the NAPA only, National Adaptation Program of Actions, in 2007, where all the islands leaders came together and draw up a plan, and also the activities that they want to implement. And they came up with 7 of the projects that they want to implement in Tuvalu. So NAPA 1 took care of the coastal protection, the water security, and the food security. And then NAPA 2 came in and took care of the marine-based livelihoods, the disaster preparedness, the strengthening of the island populous, and also the integrating of climate risks into island strategic plans. So that's where the NAPA 2 came in and started to implement those activities in Tuvalu.
The second component on disaster risk preparedness focuses on improving the early warning systems for people on the outer islands by strengthening reliable communication systems. To carry out the installation of the system, specialized skills and technical expertise is required. Colin Schulz is a telecommunications engineer and a person highly regarded and respected in the Pacific region, having worked in a number of Pacific countries, as well as with the United States Weather Service.
And there's one fuse for the light comes out, I think.
Because of his vast experience and knowledge in telecommunications and meteorology, he was recruited as a project engineer and consultant for the NAPA 2 project.
When we looked at the needs in Tuvalu, we saw that communication was a very important part, especially 24-hour, urgent, fully available communications for reaching the last kilometre, reaching the last island, reaching the last mile.
For the islanders, having this improved communication system is not only a great improvement, but also provides a sense of security, especially in times of impending disaster.
Personally, I want the whole island to have the same level of understanding on disaster awareness. It's also important for children to be aware. When a warning is sent to the island of an impending disaster, as a mother, I will start preparing the family, and the children will also know what to do if they're not at the house or their parents are not there. However, my only request is that all visiting departments should spend more time raising awareness on the island so that the whole island will have the same level of understanding.
Now that you have installed this equipment, it is very good for those of us who live some distance away, because now we are able to receive warnings together with the whole island in a timely manner. Compared to the past, we usually receive the warning from the populous truck that comes and announces the impending disaster. Now with this early warning system, we are able to receive the warning as one, especially in times of disaster.
Collaboration with other partners is a key factor, not only for the success of the project, but also for sustainability.
That's why we include major stakeholders such as telecom, the METS, meteorological department, so that they're looking after the maintenance of this early warning system equipment. And the other factor that I want to mention is that we are so fortunate to have this boat, the RV Talamoana, because without this boat, we cannot install our early warning system equipment in all the islands, because I think that government boats only goes up to 1 to 2 hours on each island. But with a boat like the RV Talamoana, we are able to finish our work, because it can be there for 3 to 4 days, so that we can install every equipment and then test it.
Through the NAPA 2 project, UNDP supported the Tuvalu government to purchase a vessel specifically for the purpose of transporting materials and equipment for the installation of the early warning system. In 2016, the RV Talamoana was purchased.
For some of the activities, we really needed sturdy ships that could really bring the materials. And that was a challenge in previous projects. And what was really special about this particular project is that we were able to to build into the program a solution in the form of a sturdy boat that could really serve the project and bring people and materials in a reliable, timely way. And I think that was a very important lesson learned, and one that I hope that we can build into other projects in the future.
As state-of-the-art equipment is being installed, it is very important that the installation be done by people with a great deal of experience and technical expertise. Comtech, a Fiji-based company, was selected to carry out the installation under the direction of Managing Director Mick Cornish.
Tuvalu is a very trying and difficult place to install and commission, so we had to be very thorough with our equipment selection, purchasing and testing even before we hit Tuvalu and commenced the project. That took a lot of time and a lot of arranging, but it's come together well. And as you've seen, it's all labor intensive in as far as getting the infrastructure, civil works done. So that in itself is quite a task. And then the electronics and testing, a lot of what we had already carried out in the factories and retested in Funafuti before we departed with the product experts. And then the commissioning side is dependent on what we actually come up against on site.
The observations that our met stations here make are extremely important, not just for Tuvalu but for the rest of the world. And it's imperative that they get the readings to the networks, the international networks, on time so that analysis can be carried out.
For the Tuvalu Meteorological Office, the installation of the new equipment on each of the islands would enable regular and more reliable communications with the Met Office in the capital, Funafuti.
Until now, we sort of come up with a more reliable technology that can communicate and sustain that between the outer island and the Met Office. So for this project, is sort of come in two ways. One is for the delivery of the early warning system, and the other part is to have on a daily basis the weather information, and also can be used as part of if there is communication issue on each island.
When we started on the Tuvalu project, we realized that a lot of the islands didn't have 24-hour contact. They didn't have a system of getting warnings in that was reliable. So I realized very quickly, and together with our colleagues on the project, that we needed a proper alarm system. And so that's what we've done. And it's interesting to note that Tuvalu is the first country that we're actually got a fully blown alarm system with sirens and things like that.
Technology now, you can sort of do a lot of things to the HF radio using the frequency, run it, radio internet. So now, like during daytime, that's the suitable frequency, and we can relay the message either through voice, either through email or chat, or through attachment.
It must be available to the community. So we wanted to put it somewhere where it was available 24 hours, that if there is a warning sent, then somebody can attend to it, see what the warning's all about, and then contact somebody to say what's going on or what do we need to do.
When there's a tsunami warning, then they can just access to that cherry beetle or HF radio if all communications are down. The good thing about cherry beetle and HF is that they are powered from solar. So still they are running if there's a problem with electricity. So that's a good thing.
With the Chatty Beetle installed, the Tuvalu Met Office now has an up-to-date state-of-the-art system that can communicate weather readings and weather information quickly and reliably. The Chatty Beetle uses text messages to communicate between the outer islands and Funafuti.
The training is a very, very important part of the project. Unless people know how to use it effectively, how to use it so that it's going to be sustainable, it's a waste of time. And that's a very important part. As you've seen, we have commenced our installations, and a very big part of that is the training part of it.
We have a technician from Telecom and a technician from the Met Office accompanying us, whom we do hands-on training, because they're supposed to come with some level of expertise or experience too. And apart from that, we have to train the operators. That's been a challenge, because they come to us at different levels of experience and expertise, so we just have to do a lot of hands-on repetitive training so they can get it right when most needed.
Integral to this component of NAPA 2 was the issuing of solar-powered radios to each household as another adaptation method. For the islanders, this was a great relief, as they no longer needed to rely on batteries or electricity to power their radios.
It was very clear to us that the broadcasting service here from the National Broadcasting Station is a very important part of getting messages out, getting educational material, getting awareness out to the outer islands. But we also found that a lot of places didn't have decent radio receivers. And so one of the very early initiatives was to put on our shopping list new radio receivers for each of the outer islands. And we decided that one radio per household would be a very good way of helping.
I'm very thankful for the radio and the reason that we are receiving them. Radios are very important to a family and also other families on the island. Given that the radios also come with a light, so when the disaster strikes and the power goes off, there's some help from the light of the radio. Plus the announcements on radio and especially weather forecasts. I'm very thankful that the whole island has received radios.
Throughout the course of the installation of the early warning system, the NAPA 2 project teamed up with the Disaster Coordination Unit, the Met Office and the Tuvalu Red Cross to conduct Vulnerability and Capacity Assessment (VCA) in order to develop disaster plans for each island.
Because we work with communities and we have developed disaster plans for these communities before, which is why NAPA 2 invited us to be part of the team that was developing the island disaster plans one step higher. And we were quite happy to be invited to be part of the team, because usually Tuvalu Red Cross tends to focus more on individual communities, and now we have the opportunity to work with the island communities as a whole.
There was also training on disaster risk preparedness to create greater awareness on issues around climate change and weather-related subjects such as wind speeds and what to look out for during cyclone warning announcements over the radio.
I have become aware of the term climate change just recently. I would say a couple of years back, say 5 years ago, when I first learnt about climate change. But before we see all these changes in weather patterns, we did not know that it was climate change. Just recently, when the government started advocating on climate change and its impacts to Tuvalu, that's when I understood what climate change and its impacts was about. Due to your arrival on the island, we have become aware of the reason of your visit. I'm very thankful for the machines that have been installed, as it will assist the island in times of disaster. Before the NAPA team arrived on the island, we relied solely on Radio Tuvalu to receive warnings. However, we now have other timely means of receiving warnings. I'm very thankful as a Vaitupu Islander for the assistance received from NAPA 2, because if it wasn't for donors funding this project, the island would not have received this type of assistance.
The National Adaptation Program of Action, NAPA 2, is an important and integral plan for the long-term sustainability of climate change adaptation in Tuvalu. Advocating the cause by raising awareness internationally is vital, as the rest of the world needs to be aware of the impacts of climate change on this very small island state.
So NAPA 2 is a big, important component. It is an important step towards an overall long-term adaptation program for Tuvalu. The less we mitigate, the more we have to adapt. The more we try to reach the target of 1.5 degrees Celsius by mid-century, the less we have to adapt. And therefore, ultimately, we avoid having to leave our islands and relocate ourselves. And that's certainly my strong hope that we can continue to work together.
There is now a great deal of awareness of climate change in Tuvalu, and while the country and her people are adapting to the changes, their traditional culture and way of living continue. While the future may appear bleak and uncertain, there is still hope. People continue with their lives and engage in their cultural traditions, and above all, there is their religious belief and unbending faith, and that is what gives them hope.
I personally think there's a need for more preparations to the future. Currently on the island, there's a housing scheme in which houses are elevated. This is assistance to families so that kids have a better place to live in due to the impacts. Hence the construction of houses on 2 levels. We Tuvaluans prefer our own traditional huts as it's much cooler and nice. However, nowadays, due to the impacts, I now prefer this new housing scheme because of sea level rise and other impacts. Now I want this kind of house. But in the past, we always prefer the thatched roof huts.
The way UNDP works is not that we come in and as engineers and just do the work. It's about ensuring that people are involved, that they are empowered, that they have an opportunity to learn and to be able to operate the equipment, learn how to maintain it. And so in that sense, there are many additional added value to this initiative.
We are happy with NAPA 2, and we want to thank our partners, UNDP in particular, Global Environment Facility. But in all these efforts, we are still concerned of the impacts of climate change and sea level rise, and particularly on unfortunate situation where people, communities will be displaced.
Tuvaluans should now react to carve our future, so we don't have to abandon our small and beautiful island.
To all Tuvaluan people, that no matter what happens in the future, we just have to hope and try to change it, because a lot can happen in these few years coming. We'll never know what happens, so try. We don't have to give up hope, because if all hope is lost, then at least we have to be happy that at least we did our best.